Okay, so this is part two of top 10 reasons The Rock sucks at the moment by yours truly, Smoking Jesus. So we came up to number 6, which was his muscular physique, too muscly. Number 5, Dwayne Johnson. This is a really good point that Dalyxman made. And it's something I've been thinking for a while, actually, and I'm glad he pointed it out. We're not actually seeing The Rock anymore. We're actually seeing the actor that played The Rock. We're seeing Dwayne Johnson. And I like Dwayne Johnson. He's a cool guy. One of the reasons he's the only wrestler who made it into the acting business or into Hollywood is because he was always kind of a good actor. The Rock was a character he created. There is no way The Rock back in 97, 98 was a real person that he went around being all the time. That was a character. No one does a people's eyebrow and, goes around, talking about themselves in the third person and has this kind of Elvis Presley almost like kind of way of speaking and mannerisms and affectations. No one has that. So, that was definitely a character he created and performed excellently. And you bought into it. But it's much like The Undertaker. When The Undertaker comes back, we don't get Mark Calloway coming back. I'm just going to come back in my normal clothes, what I wear out, generally. He comes back in character. He comes back and he performs The Undertaker, and it's great every time. He does it in a dramatic and newly realized way, bringing new elements to the character. The Rock has more and more and more gone away from what we initially liked about him, much like John Cena has done, which is really annoying. They start off as this character, and instead of staying in the mode of that character and just bringing in different elements and making building upon the character, they just slowly dilute it back into themselves until finally Dwayne Johnson is just himself. When I see WWE and I see Dwayne Johnson on the show, I want The Rock. That's the guy I really kind of liked, who I thought was cool. I want The Rock. I want the $500 shirts. I want the Gucci shoes. I want the just the ripping into people all the time, talking about yourself in the third person, the eyebrow, everything. That's what I want. Obviously, you have to diversify and build upon those basic elements and make something new. Otherwise, it gets a bit dry. But like the thing about when Stone Cold comes back is he can just come back anytime as himself, because effectively he is that character. I mean, there's more in common between Stone Cold and his character than Dwayne Johnson and The Rock. So that's a big point. But anyway, let's go on to number 4. I hate this using civil rights speeches in his promos, like free at last, God, Lord God, we are free at last. It kind of is cheap, in both ways. It cheapens. It's like, what are you trying to say? The Rock isn't like some freedom fighter. He's just a wrestler. He's not even like Muhammad Ali, who had like some real cause that he was fighting behind, and is why he kind of called himself the People's Champion. He's just The Rock. He's just some movie star. You can't go around using civil rights speeches as part of your thing. It's disrespectful. I know it was Martin Luther King Day, and he did it before. He did it yeah, another time. Maybe he's just getting really excited and the goosebumps, and he's just like coming out with this stuff. But I really think it's distasteful. Also, the emotional pleas, like he's using, like, I know it's horrible to say his mother had cancer. My mother passed away from cancer as well. It's a really, really awful thing. But I just wouldn't use that as a kind of crux in a promo. It's a wrestling program. It's entertainment, and it just came off as a bit forced. Like, oh, please, please cheer me, please cheer me. And The Rock has never had to do that. The Rock, probably more than anybody, has had complete command of the audience. So he shouldn't have to rely on such cheap tactics. Coming on in at number 3. He hasn't been a great babyface since his turn in the 2000s. He's always been a better heel, and I just think the WWE are using him wrong. I mean, there's a lot of heat on him at the moment in the YWC itself. Why not utilize that and kind of turn him into, you know, the thing that everyone hates, and he's so good at playing that. Anyway, I think from a long time ago, the WWE has been using him wrong, using his talent wrong. He clearly has he's one of the best heels, as far as I'm concerned, ever in the industry. And most of his time has been spent as a babyface. And, you know, the same way that Stone Cold is one of the best babyfaces in the industry ever. And they did that switch and made him heel, which didn't make sense. It made much more sense for The Rock to have done that. But now it's becoming really, really clear that he just isn't, you know, he's almost a kind of John Cena-ish style heel, but face. He's really not as entertaining as he is when he's a heel. So that's number 3 reason. Number 2, he needs to go back to straight up dissing his opponents. I'm not liking this whole pandering, like, you know, building CM Punk up kind of thing. I'm not talking about burying the guy, but try and, you know, raise their game. I mean, when he came back in, I think it was 2012, 11, and he was doing that stuff with John Cena, those shoot promos, those were really, really good. They were really, really entertaining. And he needed to do that against CM Punk. That's what he needed to do. And then get CM Punk to raise his game. Obviously make them shorter, because the WWE promos at the moment are way too long. But, like, effectively bring the other person up as a speaker by showing yourself to be a great speaker, and then when he beats you, it makes all the difference. Whereas both CM Punk and The Rock have been pretty lukewarm in their rivalry. But he sucked at that, and he's got better. I think he gets better with John Cena. I think his promos have got... Every time he's facing off with John Cena, he gets better for some reason. His promo was much better with John Cena than it was with CM Punk. Number 1, he's becoming... okay, yeah, he's becoming Cena-fied. That was my last point. I mean, which I've said before, and I'm worried about his Hall of Fame. You know, I want him to be inducted with the kind of status and the kind of appreciation he really deserves, because he is one of the greatest and most entertaining ever in the business. And I don't want him ruining his legacy with all this bullshit that the WWE are making him do recently, just because he likes the business, he loves the business, he wants to give back to the business. But there's no point, you know, sucking it dry. Just do something entertaining or don't do anything at all, is my basic point. I have mad respect for The Rock. I really do. I think what Dalyxman is saying about him not coming in every week is a bit going too far. He doesn't need to, even as champion. He's not going to be champion for very long. So just let him have his last championship reign. But make it interesting. Turn heel, do anything, you know. That's what The Rock is best at, and that's, you know, why we all fell in love with the guy. So bring him back to that. Corporate Rock, I say. Do a second Corporate Rock run. Bring it full circle. Anyway, thanks very much. That's my video on 10 reasons The Rock sucks at the moment.